Hi, this is Nat, and I'm going to talk about Gamergate. This is a 3-part video, so be sure to check back for the next parts. Diversity is a word often bandied around to indicate as something that we should all want and encourage and expect from video games, the discussions and reviews of these video games, and from the creators and those instigating these discussions. But I think that the word is becoming less meaningful courtesy of the hyperbole-laden outrage it is often used to indicate. It's only fair that if I critique the notion of diversity in video game culture, that I first define what the notion of diversity means to me. I believe that diversity in the context of the world of video games means a wider range of representation of varying opinions and ideals. That may be the physical attributes of characters in video games, or from those talking about video games. It may be the range of video game styles and the ideals related by the games themselves. But it does not mean to me that one idea is correct, that there is one notion that we should be beholden to, and that there is one right way and a wrong way. It means that the full variety of flavours of human existence is in some way aspired to be represented. Yet that does not seem to be the way that we talk about things at present. There is a very disingenuous approach to discussing things. Richard Stanton offered to fight any Gamergater who was man enough to face him, as in his words, "Every Gamergater is a pathetic excuse for a man, and that this is an invitation. Come at me. I mean physically. You're all little loser boys." Now let's ignore that this is exactly the kind of toxic masculinity that many opposed to Gamergate are meant to be against, as Stanton also said. Biggest irony in games. GG made Sarkeesian's videos untouchable. They're poor and often inaccurate. Will I criticise them? Not a chance. Which is disarmingly honest and rather revealing. I think that like most things on Twitter, it is an honest point made poorly by the character limit. Nonetheless, it is not the kind of statement that we should want to hear from a journalist. And lastly, Richard Stanton has a book out. The publicity of eliciting an attack from the nefarious Gamergate can't have hurt in raising awareness of that. We saw a similar thing with Movie Bob, primarily a film reviewer who previously worked at The Escapist. As his series of Game Overthinker videos was coming to an end, much in the same way that his career with The Escapist came to an end, he began to launch a series of attacks against Total Biscuit, a focal point for those against Gamergate in the absence of any defined leader. The attacks were primarily about how Total Biscuit is bad and wrong, and anyone who likes this brand of content is therefore also bad and wrong, or at least just stupid. Oh, and Movie Bob has a Patreon, and his work is available through both his YouTube and Blogspot spaces, if that catches your fancy. Through his coverage for Breitbart.com, Milo Yiannopoulos has succeeded in doing what he does best, promoting Milo Yiannopoulos. His involvement stems from the opportunity to attack an army of sociopathic feminist programmers and campaigners, abetted by achingly politically correct American tech bloggers. Milo seems to go wherever he can further his own agenda, and will say whatever he needs to enhance the attention surrounding him. Certainly there has been no shortage of interview calls and links to shocking articles located funnily enough on his website. Brianna Wu has had no shortage of success following the attention she has received. Death threats are no laughing matter, and feeling forced to flee from your own home is an experience I hope to avoid. Yet when such a victim chooses to ignore the accepted advice for handling these threats, and makes a concerted effort to maintain their own focus, it can seem as though they are monetizing their victimhood. When her game Revolution 60 was launched onto Steam Greenlight, she ignored the voting process for Greenlight, claiming that Gamergate were brigading her game with downvotes to prevent its inclusion on Steam proper, when in fact only upvotes count. Downvoting just removes the title from your preferences. Brianna has a fairly well-fed Patreon funding her company Giant Space Cat, and though I do not begrudge a single penny that anyone may wish to fund her with, I do have larger concerns with Patreon as a whole. Leigh Alexander has compared herself to Pauline Kael. That's a fairly confident assertion, but certainly there are far worse role models for a critic to aspire towards. Yet Leigh Alexander is prone to outbursts and accusations. It was Leigh Alexander who wrote the Gamers Are Over tirade while at Gamma Sutra, proclaiming utter contempt for one of gaming's communities. It was a declaration of war. Leigh Alexander recently launched Offworld, focused exactly on the type of gamers she sought to motivate with that piece, and links to all her articles on that site inevitably follow any tweeted outbursts. Thunderfoot seeks fact from fiction, with videos covering atheism and feminism amongst assorted scientific ponderings and experiments. Also, he was suspended from Twitter for criticism of Anita Sarkeesian. The Patreon is located but a click away. I despair at this kind of interaction. I value diversity. I value the opinions of those I disagree with, perhaps even more so than those I already have a common ground with, as these are differing opinions. These ideas at odds with my own challenge me. They may inform me of things I was not aware of, or at the very least, reaffirm my own thoughts by allowing me to evaluate them differently. The best way I have found to change an environment has been to engage with it. Too many people use their audience as a weapon. It's motivation and engagement, genuine indignation, offence and upset when it's us. but mock outrage, misdirection, lies and weaponization of a horde when it's them. Absolutist language is dangerous. The belief that you or anyone else has the right to Twitter is dangerous and hilarious. Twitter is a public forum. We have drawn battle lines and determined that anyone on the other side of them is incapable of being right about things. Total Biscuit has made just one tweet on politics and gaming, and how he doesn't want it to be there, but only if you choose to ignore the surrounding tweets to suit the narrative that you wish to peddle. Within a few days, Keys and McDonald at Kotaku wrote an opinion piece covering politics and games, and why it's a fantastic thing. It would be idiotic to not want it. Leigh Alexander too had an article up the following day about how ridiculous an idea it would be to keep politics out of games, that smart people know that, and that only peculiarities such as Total Biscuit would make such declarations. It made for two very good articles, which laid out the importance of politics inclusion in games, but it still isn't what Total Biscuit had said. Although Leigh Alexander did at least link one of his tweets near the start of her article, either it was purposely robbed of context to suit her own agenda at Total Biscuit's cost, or it was not a particularly well-researched piece. Keys and McDonald did pretty much the same, describing it as bizarre, but again, in context, it is not what Total Biscuit had said. His tweets were criticising forcing agendas, and the purposeful manipulation of and additions to games. They were reasonable if, as is wont to happen on Twitter, clumsily worded remarks, and then they were cherry-picked and robbed of context because there were site clicks to be had and points to be scored off Total Biscuit. I love a good debate. I love a good argument, a discussion, having my own thoughts challenged and having the opportunity to challenge someone else's. Often when talking about some big issue or moment of historical importance with friends, I'll take a contrarian position, play devil's advocate, just to come to a better understanding of what was going on. I embrace new ideas. We are Dinoslippers USB. Thanks for watching. The second in this 3-part series will be up soon. Be sure to check it out.